Hey everybody, welcome back to Breakfast with Bob. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're at Challenge Daytona, the PTO Championship, 2020 Championship. We're brought to you by Captiva Spine, John Hall Chevrolet, USA Triathlon, Foundation Risk Partners, and the PTO, the Pro Triathletes Organization. Our next guest, she's ranked number 3 on the PTO circuit, and she also is the highest ranked international for Collins Cup. Sarah Crowley joins us. How you doing, Sarah?
Very good, Bob. It's a pleasure. It's so good to actually see you at a race this year. We didn't think this would happen.
No.
So, yeah, look how lucky we are and what an amazing place it is, actually. With this, looks like Lego in the background.
I know. Have you gotten a chance to ride here yet?
Yeah, I spent a couple of hours out on it yesterday. I had a long ride, so it was quite interesting. I mean, you have to focus a lot to, sort of...
You really do.
It's... yeah, it's going to be sort of a bit of resilience, mental resilience, doing laps for a couple of hours out there.
Right?
Yep.
It's deceiving because you get into a rhythm and you just got to stay there.
Yeah,
right?
you got to stay locked in that position, the aero position. It's I think that would be a little bit of a challenge on this course.
Well, and so but the fascinating part is we've got ITU athletes, you got 70.3 athletes, you got Ironman athletes, and a lot of these people you've never raced before.
Yeah, I mean, I actually raced ITU a long time ago, so some people I have raced, but not the younger ones. And I think, I mean, we see it in some of the half iron distance events and the challenge half events that people come up and dabble in the longer distance, especially when it's sort of, out from an Olympic year and they've got a bit of time like they do right now.
Lots of time, nothing but.
Yeah, and you know what, like for some people it might inspire them to go on to long course.
Right.
But, it does become an interesting dynamic because holding on for a few hundred meters more in a swim is not such a big deal, but it can split up a long course field. So,
right.
It's going to be interesting to see how they kind of change the landscape of this race, and then obviously who can stay there by the end of the bike and then onto the run.
You were one of the people who decided, hey, listen, I'm going to do Challenge Daytona, and I better get to the States early because who knows if they're going to lock things down again. I'm getting the heck out of Australia and getting down. If you started out in Napa and then you've been in Utah, this is a different time of year for you to be in the States.
100%. It's been a really different year for me. I mean, obviously with all the cancellation of events, it sort of delayed things, and then we went into like hibernation training mode for a while. In Australia, we were lucky enough to have the Mooloolaba and the Cairns Ironman events, and so before those, I applied to travel. We had to have a special exemption from Australia to be able to leave the country, and so I got that exemption, and then I decided to race Mooloolaba and Cairns.
Yes.
Pretty small amount of preparation, like 8 weeks or something. So, like I see these events then as build-up events to this and then on to next year. And it's, we're seeing races on the calendar, which is great. But then also to at least sort of stimulate a bit of a training block, I kind of went to altitude, which I would normally do, except it's been snowing because it's 3 months later. So, yeah, I've been running around in the snow, which is a bit different for me. But you know what? When else am I going to get the opportunity? It's right. We're always chasing the sun, and so it's been pretty fun. I've never really had that opportunity before.
When I look back at your career, you're one of those athletes who realize, you know what, if I want to be good at this triathlon thing, I'm going to be all in on cycling. I'm going to be part of a cycling team. I'm going to get really good at cycling, and then I'm going to get really good at running, and just focus on that. During this time, not knowing what the heck's going to happen, what have you been focusing on?
Well, actually I focused on the swim again. I know I lifted my swim up between 16 and 17 and it made a real difference for me going into, it pretty much levitated me into the podium at events and meant that I was in that front pack. But, with the changing landscape of the sport and seeing some of the younger girls coming through and the sort of short course athletes moving into the longer distance, we sort of can see that there's this trend towards like some faster swimming and faster swim packs.
Right.
So, yeah, I spent a fair bit of this time, just a large proportion of time, just building in swim blocks. But we did it a little differently this time, and we swam more like a swimmer rather than doing just lots of swimming. We swam swim-type training. So, it was a challenge. It's been interesting, but it has improved my swim, which I didn't think possible again, which was really good. And, yeah, now we're just putting in the building blocks for the next year.
I like it. And you're 2016, you get 15th in Kona, then you move up to 3rd, and then 6th, and then this last year I had that great race with Lucy.
Oh yeah,
that was pretty fun. Take me through the great race with Lucy, because you're just like, it's not often that somebody gets you pass somebody and they come back on you in that towards the end of a race.
Yeah, I mean, I've had all year to think about it.
I thought I'd bring that up again.
Yeah, I know.
Since there haven't been any other races in between, I figured let's bring up like one of the bad memories.
Yeah. It's not a bad memory because I emptied the tank. Like,
you did. You raced.
Like I think if you put out everything you have, it's not a bad thing. I mean, I think I've thought over it over and over again, but really for me, I think I guess I could have had some more energy at different points in the run or whatever, but also. Like I was at the back end of a very fast marathon on a big day, and Lucy had the opportunity probably to recover a little bit after being passed and everything else. And you can't ever change anything that's happened. So for me, it's just about putting steps forward so that it doesn't happen again. So
right.
Really, and that's why we want to make the swim faster. It's like not make that gap so big, and it's all a chain reaction from there. Yeah,
you learn from every single year, right? Every year you're like, okay, now I got to work on this. It's not like you ever have it mastered.
I think that's the, it's the thing about triathlon that it draws everyone back, is that you never have a perfect race because there's so many variables.
Yeah.
And so that you can always feel like you can do it better.
When you first got into this, what do you look at as the breakthrough where you knew, okay, I can be good at this. This is a sport that really suits me.
Well, I did actually race age group triathlon for quite a while, a long time ago, 2006, 2007, and I did go to the World Championships in 2007, and I had a really fast run, and I was on the podium because I had a little bit of an issue with the transition area, but I walked away from that race knowing that I could go to another level with the sport. And it's funny, actually, if you go back and look at that start list, there's people like Annie Haug and Camilla Pedersen and all these people that are raced now that I raced that day. So I guess that was probably the first time. And then the second thing that happened was maybe around 2015, at the back end of 15, when I was still working full time. I had just some mixed results, and I just knew I could do better, and it was frustrating me that I was sort of racing an Ironman, then racing a half distance, and then racing, a duathlon or something like this, and not performing well at any of it. And so that's when I kind of decided to get a professional coach again and take it full time once again.
Is that Cameron Watt?
Yeah. So Cam and I have been working together for the last sort of 4.5, 5 years.
How important is that? Because we see a lot of athletes try to coach themselves, and it doesn't ever seem to work out that well. Yeah,
I mean, I guess for a little while when I went back full time back into work, I tried to coach myself, and I find that it's hard to be accountable, and the days that you don't want to do the session, you can maybe not do what you'd originally planned or something like that. I think having someone there that's holding you completely accountable to what you do each day, whether that's an easy session or a hard session or a session you do or don't like doing, it kind of, I guess, it's that objective view of what you're doing, and then, and they could build the program out based off of, that objective view, which is hard to have as an athlete, I think.
When you look at putting your best races together, what do you look at as the best race? And was it a win, or was it one of the podiums in Kona?
I think Kona last year was definitely an amazing performance from me.
Yeah. Well, for the whole women's field.
I know, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a great race.
I think it was a step forward in women's racing, so it was great to be part of that. One of my best runs would have been Penticton 70-point ITU long course.
Yeah.
Everything just came together that day. I was not far off the swim pack. I got into the bike group that were riding, legal distance apart, whatever, but I didn't have to do that chase.
Sure.
Which meant that I could really use my run. And I probably had one of my best, I would say the best run I've ever had that day. And then I guess some of those sort of quicker races in the Middle East and stuff, I think Bahrain was pretty much a breakthrough race, where I ran quite quick. It's kind of hard with the way that we train for iron distance to come down to the shorter stuff and then stay snappy and fast. It's really contradictory to what I've always, because I've always come from short course and
Right.
stuff, and now I'm embedded as a long course athlete. And so the training even for this race over the past 4 to 6 weeks has been back to a lot of that high intensity, and
Yes.
it's like a shock to the system, but it's stuff that I used to do all the time. So preparing for this race has been, it's been different, but I think it's great for, like I said, it's another opportunity this year to do a few things differently and, you know, really enjoy the sport. For me, 4 years training at the level that we were
Right.
for the Ironman, we needed something sort of different.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm really excited that after this race, I've got myself to a level of fitness that I can then build on for
Right.
really good performances next year.
You brought up a really good point. 'Cause I think what happens sometimes for both marathoners and for Ironman guys is they sort of forgot that they were short distance people, and that short distance allowed them to go longer, faster. And then they start thinking to themselves, "Well, I'm a marathoner. I don't need to do that track stuff anymore. I'm just going to go long," and then they go backwards.
Yeah.
And so this was sort of like an eye opener for you that, you know what, this short stuff is, I need to do this.
Yeah, like it's just challenging where running speeds that I used to find so easy, and then now we just do so many at something that's not quite as fast.
Right.
And then just even to try and touch on those speeds, it's so hard because you just don't do
Right.
a lot of it at all. And so, yeah, that's been fun for me, like to challenge myself a little bit to
Yes.
try and do that sort of stuff over the last few weeks. And yeah, I mean, it's even going to be more important in this race with people coming up. And whether they can stay the distance, we don't know.
Yeah.
We'll obviously, myself and people like Heather and stuff will have that in the back pocket. But
The other thing that's going to be fun is with Samarin coming up next year and the
yeah.
Collins Cup.
oh yeah, that's my favorite distance.
Is that?
Yeah, because it's I feel like for that I can hold a faster run for longer.
Yes.
I seem to struggle with that last little bit of the marathon. But yeah, I think it's going to be exciting to see what's possible in that race.
Yeah, and then that's going to be the whole Collins Cup, which is the internationals against the Euros, against
it's
the
fun.
Americans. That'll be fun.
Super fun. I think, you know, like if things keep going the way they're going with the way that our sport's been able to manage events
Yes.
and at least have some events. I mean, I think there's sports that are way worse off than we are. We're very lucky that we've got something.
Right.
And if things continue the way they're going and we can, you know, effectively make sure everyone's safe and
Right.
continue holding events, I think, you know, like there is sort of some good stuff that's going to happen towards the middle of next year. And yeah, hopefully it all goes to plan. And, you know, because as athletes, training for the unknown is very difficult. And
Especially for someone like yourself. You want to know where you're going, how I'm getting
100%. And,
Yeah.
and it's, yeah, to be able to peak for something that doesn't exist is very difficult. So, and also to hold, I mean, there'll be people coming into this race, I feel, with a lot of form, but then to think to hold that for another year, it's like
Yes.
very difficult.
Yeah.
Other people may have used that time to step up a level, which is fantastic. But yeah, I mean, for people, I guess, that have established themselves at the level, it's like, oh, okay, so how long are we waiting here? You know? So yeah, I'm very hopeful that by the middle of next year, we'll be back
Yes.
normally racing and with a bit more normal like travel and racing schedule.
So this has been a bizarre year, and having PTO there with dollars and support and putting the dollars into this event at $1.15 million. How important has that been for the pro athlete?
I think it gives us the comfort that we can just not have to look elsewhere for the future, and at least the short term or medium term future. So, and also being able, I think the key for me was really seeing this race come together and how challenging that would have been for the team that have done an amazing job to get everyone here, like, from all over the world. Gives me the comfort that next year we will see the Collins Cup and we will see more PTO supported events.
Right.
What's also really cool is that although I'm not in Australia right now and I didn't get to race it, small events like Harvey Bay and other local races have been assisted, which means that I guess people that I train with that don't have the opportunity because they're not at the level yet to come to a race as big as this can continue in the sport locally until they're at the level. despite everything that's going on. So
exactly.
Ordinarily, they might take a few months off work and go travel and then do some races in Europe or America or whatever, but at least there's something for them this year to keep sort of, I mean, I guess testing themselves during this time. So, you know, I think that support is far outweigh. I mean, the prize money is amazing, but it's supporting people from the start. That's I think is an amazing step in our sport.
Well, I don't think anybody ever thought that there'd be maternity leave and things like that for a professional athlete. That never was going to happen.
It's incredible. We're very lucky.
Very lucky. Hey, thank you for taking time.
Always.
And thanks for bringing us coffee. That was, you are, I think your ranking was 12th or something before that.
You bumped it.
Now you've bumped up to 3 and number 1 in international. But
so
you know, if you go out and get us a snack, I think you'll be number 1 in the world in no time. I love it. Sarah Crowley has been our guest, everybody. Again, Breakfast with Bob, Challenge Daytona, PTO 2020 Championship. Hold on. We'll be right back.